Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Now, over the past 7 years, we have understood what matters the most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we are taking 2 of your most pressing concerns head on, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sumit Lakhotia, and on the show tonight, a very special conversation with BookMyShow, and on the other side of the break is Sterling Holidays. Tonight on the show, we bring you part 2 of a special conversation with the COO of Live Entertainment at BookMyShow, Albert Almeida. We spoke to him about the journey of BookMyShow from an online entertainment ticketing platform to India's leading entertainment destination. Take a look.
Let's talk funding. And I do know that when we talk about India's biggest startups and India's biggest unicorns, BookMyShow is one of those names that comes up very, very frequently. Has it been easy raising funding for an industry that's so niche? And from your experience, if you can talk to someone who's watching this interview to say, this is perhaps how you should sell yourself in this industry, which is evolving as we speak.
Yeah, so I think for us, it's been relatively easy. We're a very well-funded company. I think it's on the back of the fact that the people who believed in us see in us a true company that has a great, not just great potential, but is doing great business even today. We're fortunate to have been in the right place at the right time. In fact, a little ahead of the curve, like when I was talking to you about the journey of BookMyShow. But I think we've benefited from the fact that, the whole data revolution in India, the telephony revolution in India, the young demographic of India has all added up to make sure that when people have conversations with us about funding, they know that they're in the right room for the right reasons with the right people.
Okay, moving away from just talking about funding, and I want to talk the big picture when it comes to innovation. What does innovation mean to you at BookMyShow? And if you are looking at different industries, verticals, what does it take to identify perhaps those industry segments or those industries that you think are going to see a lot of potential when it comes to whether it's live entertainment or whether it comes to just the entertainment industry itself? How do you identify that? Is that some sort of a secret that you can let our entrepreneurs in on?
Well, I don't think it's a real secret, and I think. Innovation is born out of insight, and insight is not something that you find on the surface, but it's when you really listen. And I'm saying there's a difference between hearing and listening.
Okay.
And when you listen to consumers and their conversations or their pain points, I think if you listen and you're willing to accept that yes, it is a pain point, it's a need, you will address it. You will address it with honesty, and when you address it with honesty, I think. Even the simplest thing that you've addressed seems like an innovation. So just to give you a few examples, I think in our case, whether it's online or it's on ground, we're constantly looking at what the consumer is saying. We're out there getting feedback from the consumer, and our customer care is very, very attentive to feedback, and there's a lot of pressure back on us as business people to say, we want to have a first call resolution. On matters, and in each one of those calls, there is always a consumer crying out for some kind of help. Sure. So just to give you an example, when we did Cirque in India, we knew that consumer perception is that if I go to PKC and MMRDA grounds, the facilities are going to be awful.
Yeah.
And we said that we're going to provide them with facilities which are of a different order of magnitude. So right from the washrooms which are air conditioned, to the hospitality tent which was lavish, to the food and beverage that was seamlessly delivered, all made for a great experience. And therefore we've actually changed consumer mindset to saying that, if I go for an event at BKC, it won't be all that bad. And there's little things like that that delight us and make us try really hard in delivering a better consumer experience.
Okay, my last few questions, and while you did start out and you were the only one in your space which was doing what you were, Now, as we speak, there are a few others who are also in a similar space who you could consider peers. How do you view competition, and how do you ensure that then you're staying ahead of the curve?
To be honest with you, there are people who've asked us this question about market share, share of the pie, etc. I think it's of no consequence because we need to bake the pie first. We got to create the pie. I think there's enough space, there's enough room in this market for competition. We welcome competition. We, in fact, we would like to look at ourselves as partners, collaborators, and not just be viewed as a 800-pound gorilla in the room out there to eat everyone's breakfast. So I just believe that India is such a market. There's opportunity on every side. So I think there's enough talent to be promoted. There are enough consumers who want to consume. It's putting the right talent in front of the right consumers with the right experience at the right price point. And I think we need many more people chipping at it.
Okay. Speaking of the pie and the market share, what is the size of the market that you're anticipating over the next 2 to 3 years? And while I did ask you earlier in terms of where are the biggest opportunities, can you put some numbers on it to say that this perhaps is going to be the biggest growth driver in this market?
Well, I haven't really put any numbers down in terms of specifics and segments. We haven't broken it up that way. But if I were just to talk about some of the pillars that we believe are going to deliver, of course, sport on the back of cricket and a lot of other sport following that model of creating leagues, etc., is bound to see a significant growth because more and more people will be developing different sport following that model. We're already seeing that happening. I think in the live space itself, it's not just international concerts. It's not just big acts like U2 and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done and can be done with local artists, and not just, again, I'm saying the Arijits, the Rahmans of this world are doing their stuff, but there are younger people, there are people breaking out in the indie music scene, which again is a huge pillar for me. The comedy space, like I told you, is again, the ticket sizes may be much smaller, but you do many more. So I'm saying you see Bombay as an example, has got a very vibrant comedy scene. It's like little venues, lots of stuff happening. So there's opportunity in sport, there's opportunity in live, whether it's concerts, whether it's comedy. There's opportunity in theatre in my view, and theatre of all sizes. So we collaborate with people at the regional level like Marathi theatre, which is like theatre on a bus. Cast, crew, sets, travel from little town to little town, and before you know it, they've done 100, 150 shows.
Sure.
And regaled audience, right from that. So that's the base level to the top level where you get international content from West End, Broadway, and in between you produce some slick stuff like Aladdin. We've just launched a new theatrical with Feroz Abbas Khan, which is going to premiere in Delhi in February, called Ronak and Jassi, which is our take, or it's India's version of the Romeo and Juliet, the classic tale. So I believe there are a lot of these spaces which will break out, and there is opportunity across the board in delivering great live experiences.
One last question, Albert, let me squeeze it in before we let you go. What's perhaps exciting you? We're coming, of course, to the end of this fiscal, looking ahead at the next fiscal. Anything you're working on that's personally exciting you?
There's a lot of stuff that we're working on, and some of it is interesting stuff because we're bringing guys into the country for the first time. I think Trevor Noah is going to make his debut. He's doing a lot of interesting stuff, which is topical at the moment, including the royals leaving the palace. And I think people will wait with bated breath to have him here in April. Khalid, who's a great Grammy Award many times nominated, currently trending pop star. He's going to be coming here. Like I said, we're launching Ronak and Jassi, which is our theatrical, which is our Romeo and Juliet. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening. There's a lot of stuff we're working on, and stick around. I'm sure you'll get a ping from BookMyShow every day of your life.
Thanks for your time here on the show, Albert.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Let's slip into a short break, and on the other side is Sterling Holidays. We'll be back in just a moment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're on with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Now, our second influencer conversation tonight is with Ramesh Ramanathan, Chairman and Managing Director at Sterling Holidays. We spoke to him about his journey at Sterling Holidays and what are the future plans for the brand. Take a listen.
Thank you so much for coming down to our studios, Ramesh, and really talking about what's going on as far as the travel and tourism industry is concerned. A lot happening, particularly in the scenario that we're in. But let me kickstart this conversation by talking about Sterling and Sterling Holidays. What you really want for our viewers to know about the company and the journey that you've had.
Okay. Sundar, thanks. Thank you very much for having me here and an opportunity to talk about Sterling. At Sterling, I think we are creating a difference in the sense that over the last 8 years, we do not consider ourselves part of hospitality in that broader sense that everybody refers it to, but more as a holiday company.
Yeah.
And the reason we do that is the customer. The customer is the same ultimately. He goes into business hotels, he comes into holiday hotels, but the same customer is very different in a holiday hotel than in a business hotel.
Okay.
Simple thing is breakfast.
Sure.
In a business hotel, you want everything quick, neat. In a holiday, your breakfast, the same customer takes 1 hour over breakfast.
Sure.
And I think that is the transformation that Sterling has made. From the time I joined, which is 2011, when we had 1,100 rooms, we have moved up to 2,400 rooms with very high ratings on TripAdvisor and so on. And a hybrid model of business. Sterling started out as a membership business. We are no more a membership business in that sense. We are a mix of members and regular holidayers coming in. So we are able to cater to a wide section of customers, not just members.
Sure. So it's interesting you're saying that you started initially as being a subscription based in some sort of a model, being exclusive really, to now looking at the broader travel and tourism market as well. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of entrepreneurs who speak to us are in the very niche space. They're looking at curated holidays, they're looking at what they can do for the individual, which apparently is the demand. So if you can talk to our viewers through the course of this answer about where you see the trends headed. Where are the biggest opportunities when it comes to the travel and tourism market, whether it's in 2020 or in the short term 2 to 3 year time frame?
So to go back, I think it's a question of two things. The first one is in terms of why we moved away from membership into the general market, or as I said, as I was thinking from a smaller pond into a larger ocean, was to allow ourselves, give us the flexibility and the opportunity to grow in size. Because the market outside was always much larger, and Sterling had the right mix to be able to do that. So we moved. So today, because of that, we address ourselves to a wide variety of customers, millennials, in-betweens, and then older empty nesters, or whatever you call them, retirees and so on. I think this trend is going to continue. The second thing in terms of your question on experiences, I think people are looking for great deals and customized sort of holidays or customized experiences. So what we have done is we have moved away from just offering good accommodation, great food, to experiences and discoveries.
Okay, what part of that is perhaps being helped along by digital? Because most of the smaller entrepreneurs who talk to us are saying, because of the power of technology now, because you have digital, because you have, social media, you're able to customize and offer better experiences for a large company like yourself. Then how are you able to incorporate technology? How have you incorporated it perhaps at the speed at which a small entrepreneur is able to do it, and then be able to offer these experiences?
If you look at digital area, I think one is in terms of reach to customers, to be able to tell them what you're doing. I think that is the biggest thing that has happened. In terms of digitally working, it gives you a lot of access to data to be able to understand your customers better and therefore be able to offer. The other thing is digitally you are able to pick out trends or new things happening everywhere and be able to offer them at your resorts.
Sure.
So digital is, I think, as far as we are concerned, it's omnipresent. And I always say, I mean, insofar as you don't let digital control you, but you control digital, you're better off.
Let's take a step back though and come back to talking about your specific business and company. Where are you at when it comes to the number of hotels, etc., that you have, and where do you see yourself headed?
So we are at 41 properties now. Before I say where we want to go to, there's something I want to mention here is about how we have redefined those places.
Okay.
Normally, holidays refer to leisure locations, generally. And that is what we were also at. So when I say leisure locations, you have mountains, you have beaches, you have jungles, and so on. But we decided we need to follow the Indian consumer. And what does the Indian consumer do typically in a year, let's say, of holidays? Number one, they take multiple holidays. And they do not go only to leisure places. They go to heritage places. They go on a pilgrimage. Almost every Indian, does that. So we have now rearranged our holiday universe to include leisure locations, heritage locations. When I say heritage locations, it's Jaipur, Agra, Mysore, and so on. Pilgrimage locations. And finally, drive-to locations for weekends. So with this changed universe, we are able to address the needs of the Indian consumer better, and also it's allowing us to grow faster.
Sure.
So we are becoming, as I really said earlier, from a small pond, we have jumped into a bigger pond and a bigger this thing, but we want to be able to service our customers better.
Okay.
The idea is we want to double in the next 4 years, by 2024, to 5,000 rooms and at least 80 properties.
Okay, you're saying changed universe. I do want to talk about your learnings, perhaps, in terms of how you have incorporated listening to your customers and your consumers better, and how you're able to make those changes.
So we have a fairly large ORM program, online relationship management. We keep in touch with all customers who respond to us. We try and get feedback on our own separately. And the one thing that we have realized is that it is not enough to talk to a customer who's complained. Also go back to the customer who has said good things about you and thank them. I think both of them work very well.
Sure.
Number two, and in our business this is very important, and this is a distinction which we have made. Normally in city hotels, you're focusing only on one person because it's at best a couple, but generally one person. When it comes to a holiday, actually there are 4 customers in every room. The husband, the wife, and maybe the 2 children.
Sure.
Each of them having requirements of their own. It's not common. So there is together time, and then there is me time for each one. And that is why it is different when we need to be able to do it. We have sensitized our people to be able to be conscious of that.
Sure.
And that is actually taking us very far.
Okay, let me quickly then wind down this conversation by asking you to talk about the fact that you're a company, I understand, is largely focused on the domestic market.
That's right.
But there's been so much happening globally, whether it was a virus scare, whether it is what was happening in terms of flight cancellations, companies going belly up, some of the largest travel companies then facing financial losses and, liquidity, etc. In the middle of all of this, what is the domestic market looking like for 2020 when it comes to travel? Any projections you can give us? So
far, the market is good. As I keep saying, the domestic market has consistently grown. In spite of many brands, in spite of Airbnb and all that, all of us have grown. We have, for example, over the last 5 years, had a CAGR of 13%.
Okay.
In terms of members and non-members coming in.
Sure.
I think it is bound to grow. Yes, there could be hiccups coming in terms of any of these issues like a virus coming in and so on. It really depends on how serious the whole thing is going to be. Okay. Otherwise, I think people will still domestically travel.
My last question is as far as the regulatory framework is concerned, and I want to talk about government policy. The travel and tourism space, of course, is something that the government watches very closely. It's constantly announcing, policies for the space. Anything more you'd like to see?
Mostly, I think what the government is doing in terms of infrastructure, the airports, the Sagarmala, so connectivity is going up. On the other hand, in terms of access, airlines, all that has really done a lot of good for the industry.
Sure.
What is required is a single window to build your resorts and be able to deliver them very fast. That is not there, and we are also not able to get onto scale in a lot of cases. These are the two things where we'll need help.
All right. Good having you here in studio.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for taking
Sunanda.
the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we're completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. But if you have any feedback for us, here's how you can get in touch with us. Our contact details will be up on your screen in just a moment. So do get in touch. We love hearing from you. Thanks a lot for watching and have a good night.